And so it is. It is a golden night. And we do welcome back our good friend and fellow Coptic, Ellen Tutt. He will be presenting tonight, a frequent contributor to the Coptic Fellowship with these recordings of the videos. He helps us out in the redesigning of our website and the marketing committee to promote the organization's new horizons that we are looking to strive for, to grow, to flourish, to carry on the torch of Master Hamid Bey and Master Stanley and John as we look forward to the weeks, months, and years ahead for the organization. He's also the author of 9 books and countless audio programs on the power of belief and how to manifest your visions into reality. It takes one to go within yourself wholeheartedly, and Ellen has certainly done that in a cold winter in Indiana, losing everything and becoming homeless for a period of time. And Ellen discovered a method of connecting with the universal divine essence and directing divine power to turn his life around. Since then, he continues his research and experimentation to find ways to better maximize results with minimum effort. Today, Ellen focuses on new horizons for you, as champions in all fields of life are celebrated for your determination, discipline, and persistence in developing your skills and abilities far enough to become the best at what you do. All of us can become champions in our own lives by pursuing worthwhile goals and reaching them. As Ellen presents, he will share his newest insights into how he can and also tap into the divine power to manifest our visions quickly and easily as he continues to plan and manifest your goals and help you do so in record time with a minimum of effort. Our golden illumination becomes brighter tonight as Ellen does present your golden medal moment.
As most of you know, the Olympic Games are held every 4 years, and the 2020 Olympics were postponed due to the pandemic, and they've been rescheduled for this year. And one of the interesting things to note about this year's Olympic Games is that for the first time in history, there's almost an equal division between the number of men and the number of women who are competing for those gold medals, for that chance for recognition and a place in history. And so almost about, I think I read 49% of the athletes competing in this year's games are actually women. So this is a milestone in the progression of our society. And the reason I bring up the Olympic Games is because these are people who are achieving excellence in whatever it is that they do. And I'm going to be talking about more than just athletes, but the athletes going to the Olympics are a great example of some of the principles that I'm going to be talking about tonight. These people have dedicated so much time to developing their skills, developing their abilities, developing both their mind and body to be able to compete on that level. In fact, it is an honor just to be able to go to the Olympics, whether you win anything or not. And so the people who actually win and get those gold medals have achieved something truly spectacular. And these are the types of people that I like to study, because if I can follow the types of principles that they use to achieve their level of greatness, maybe I can use some of those same principles in my own life to achieve some level of greatness for myself. So the Olympic Games are a nice focus point for the topic of tonight, which is, as the title goes, your gold medal moment. The moment when you receive the gold medal for achieving excellence in your life, for whatever it is that you're doing. One of the reasons why I want to focus on this is because those who do achieve, and in any way, shape, form, in any area of life, those who do achieve a level of excellence, these are champions who inspire many others, because one champion inspires many others. These Olympic athletes are considered not only champions, but also heroes in some way, due to the way that they are able to inspire others to strive for greatness in their own way. Obviously, there are many different types of champions, many different types of heroes. Besides athletes, we have heroes like firefighters, police officers, doctors, nurses, and some people consider anybody involved in the military to be heroes as well. And in my mind, that is one level, one type of hero. Well, actually, no, there's a couple in there. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused, but that's just one line on my outline. People who are heroes on a physical level. We also have heroes who are inspiring to people because they have achieved a certain level of fame or fortune in their lives. People who are celebrities, movie stars, TV stars, people who just appear on the TV news on a daily basis, or people who have developed a following on social media. These are celebrities who have attained a certain level of stature and status in the world. Obviously, rock stars and other famous musicians have also become heroes to many people who would love to be able to live their lifestyle. And as far as lifestyle, anybody who is wealthy tends to also be considered a hero of some kind, because there are a lot of us who one way or another would like to live that life of luxury that they are able to live. And it doesn't matter whether they have earned the money, whether they won it in a lottery, or whether they inherited it through being born into the right family. We would all, most of us, I won't say all of us, but most of us would enjoy being able to live a life of luxury. And then a completely different type of hero that I do want to acknowledge, because in my mind, they are probably the most important heroes. And these are the spiritual heroes, the people who inspire us to become better human beings. People like Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, JFK, Amma, who is referred to as the hugging saint, and obviously here in the Coptics, Hamid Bey and Master Stanley are also heroes who represent an ideal that we would like to live up to. On a smaller level, authors and speakers are able to gain a certain level of hero status, especially when they deliver an inspiring message or otherwise help people improve their lives in one way or another. And then there's everyday heroes, people who are just living in such a way that they are able to touch people on an emotional level. And this could be anything from a school photographer who is able to make a genuine connection to each child they photograph and let them know that, yes, they are an important person. Yes, they do deserve to have some level of attention, and it's okay. In preparing this talk, I was thinking that one of the lowest levels or the simplest ways to become a hero in at least one person's life, one person at a time, is just to be able to connect with people, to listen when they talk, and to allow them to feel an emotional connection in a one-on-one situation. And in this type of situation, actually, I think this is the superpower that Oprah Winfrey had, which led to her massive success as a talk show host. Because when she sat down to interview someone, you could tell she really cared about them. She was open to what they had to say, and she really listened to what their story was. And this is something we can all do. So there are many different types of heroes. It doesn't require being the best in the world like an Olympic athlete to become a hero. We can be heroes to one person at a time. And as mentioned before, at least in terms of wealth, there are certain VIP benefits that come with attaining a level of hero stature, becoming a champion on one way or another. Sometimes we see this when we're not in that position. As an example, if we've made a restaurant reservation and we show up on time and we're waiting for our table, and someone comes in that we may not necessarily recognize, but the wait staff at the restaurant obviously recognizes, they don't have a reservation and somehow they get your table and then you have to wait. And it's one of those situations where if you're not one of those VIPs, it kind of feels a little bit inconvenient. Why do they get this? But obviously there's a certain level of special treatment that people get when they do attain a certain level of stature in our society, whether that stature is from wealth, whether it's from being a spiritual leader, whether it's from fame, whatever it is. That's just the fact of life. That's just the way this is. And I recognize that not everyone listening to this really wants to incorporate more of those VIP benefits into your life. Sometimes some of us just simply want to live a life of purpose and meaning, and it feels good when you're able to influence someone in a positive way and make a difference in their life. And so for both of these reasons, I'm here to encourage you, to inspire you, and maybe offer a few suggestions on how you can become more of a hero in your life to the people around you. So the big question is, how do we make this happen? And the first thing that I really want to stress, the thing that we always have to keep in mind, is that the experiences we have in life, the life that we live, is a direct reflection of what's inside of us. Our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our spiritual vibration, if you will. The life that we see outside of us is a direct reflection of what's inside of us. In one way that I say this is that what you see in the world is a reflection of who you are. And if you want to get more out of life, you have to become more, because who you are is reflected in the experiences that we have in life. Karma. We've all talked about karma in one way or another. What we send out into the world comes back to us one way or another. If we do good things for other people, then good things will come back to us. If we do negative things that hurt other people, then those would come back to harm us at some point in the future. The same thing is true with our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, the activity that goes on inside of us. As Christ said, you don't have to actually commit adultery to be guilty of that sin, as they called it. If you just thought it in your mind, if you lusted for someone in your heart, the sin was already committed. It didn't matter that you didn't follow through with it physically. Whatever happens inside of us gets reflected on the outside. And so that is the big foundation that we're building on here. The thing that Autumn brought up is that we are all operating as an extension of the divine mind. We are all sharing the one mind of God. And so we all have access to that divine mind. And so what any one person has been able to accomplish in their life, we have the same capability to accomplish that as well. So there are some physical differences. Obviously, if you're 5'2", you may not necessarily be able to become a basketball star in the NBA. But I bet you, if we looked for it, there is a basketball league for short people. In fact, in preparing for this talk, I was thinking as far as the Olympics, what about if you are over the age that is normally considered to be the prime physical condition for going to the Olympics? Can you still compete? Actually, yes, you can. There is such a thing as the Senior Olympics. You have to be at least 50 years old just to get in. This was an organization that was started in 1987. It's online if you really want to look for it. So if you ever dreamed about becoming an Olympic athlete and you think it's too late, think again. They're Senior Olympics, and they have all sorts of sports that are well suited to people over 50. So this idea that we are all an extension of the divine mind, anything that another person has been able to accomplish, we can also accomplish. We just have to tap into, connect to that divine mind and channel divine wisdom, divine guidance to lead us in whatever steps we need to do to accomplish the goals that we would like to accomplish. And obviously, there are two major ways to manifest a life in which you are the VIP, in which you are the hero to other people. The most obvious one is to actually go out and do things, to actually train to become the Olympic athlete, if that was what your goal was, to develop your skills as a musician or as a doctor or as a politician or whatever field of activity you would like to get involved in. By developing our skills and becoming better at what we do, we can reach those levels of greatness and therefore inspire others to also be able to pursue their passions as well. That is the outer way of accomplishment. As most of you know, I tend to focus on the inner method of accomplishment. And again, going back to that foundation, whatever we do inside of ourselves becomes a reflection in the world around us. If we would like to experience more financial abundance in the world around us, in our lives, then we need to incorporate the idea, the feeling, the belief of financial abundance within ourselves. And then this belief, this whole consciousness of abundance can be reflected in the world around us. And the law of cause and effect, the law of karma in a more specific situation, this law of cause and effect is what creates the events that produce the results that we're looking for. And I feel like I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. Not too bad so far. Let's see here. Looking at my time. Okay, we are doing okay. So how do we actually envision this outer state that we would like to manifest? Let's go ahead and shift into that right now. Anybody who has followed my previous presentations know that for the last few years, I've been talking about a simple three-step process where we relax into a deep inner state, an alpha or theta level of mind if possible. And within that state, we imagine the end result that we would like to manifest. And then we imagine that situation in as much detail as we possibly can: sight, sounds, smells, textures, emotions, everything as much as possible. That relaxation, that vivid imagination, those two steps by themselves act as a self-hypnotic session in which we are transforming our belief system. We are transforming our inner consciousness to become something other than what it was. And the third step that I teach is to anchor this in with the idea of truth and reality so that it gets locked into place and it becomes a permanent part of who we are. This is the core process I've been talking about. And what I would like to do now is just briefly describe how we can use this core process to become that champion, to become that hero for others to be inspired by. And so in this process, obviously belief is the most important element. The relaxation and the visualization, not just visualization, but imagination of all senses, that helps to reshape our beliefs. In this process, clarity of mind is one of the most important factors. How clearly can you imagine that end result? How clearly can you focus your mind on one thing and one thing only? The more clear we are able to focus our mind, the more of the divine power that we are able to channel through our minds into the world around us to create what we would like to manifest. One thing I tend to focus on is a weak focus produces weak results. If you can focus 100% of your mind on one idea only, 1 minute of clear, pure focus can do far more for you than spending an hour, 2 hour, even 3 hours in an unfocused prayer. This is something that I've talked about previously, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. In terms of thinking about the hero status, one of the big things here gets into the idea of imagining the end result as if it has already happened. Imagine yourself as that successful person, as that hero, as that champion, as someone who has already accomplished something of significance. Imagine yourself in that position with all of the results that comes out of it, getting those VIP benefits, being recognized as the hero who has already inspired people, being recognized as someone who has already invested the time and the effort to developing your skills, and someone who has a history of success. This idea is something that I had some trouble with myself. It ties into the old statement, fake it till you make it. Because in a way, that's exactly what we're doing. We're visualizing a condition in which we have already achieved something. And personally, I had absolutely no problem doing that within the context of a meditation, within the context of a prayer, within the context of a inward session in which I relaxed, visualized this end result, and then let it go. One of the things that can actually maximize our ability to manifest is to be able to carry this idea, carry this consciousness out into the world as we are going about our regular day. If we can walk through life with the attitude, with the consciousness of that hero status as that champion, then it manifests a lot quicker. And here again, this is what I was talking about. It touches into the idea of fake it till you make it. My personal feeling was, I can't do that. I would be lying to myself and everyone around me if I tried to pretend to be something I'm not. And that slowed down my advancement in my life for a lot of years. What I eventually realized is this whole idea that when you embody the concept, when you embody the energy, the concept, the perspective of the end result, you're not lying to anyone, because what happens is this consciousness creates events and circumstances that will allow this desired outcome to be a physical fact. And so this fake it till you make it, you're not lying to anyone. You're telling the truth ahead of time, because the truth will eventually support the consciousness. I'm realizing that I'm kind of running a little bit out of time here, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude this. There's a lot of areas in this that we could continue on in the conversation afterwards, in the discussion afterwards, and I definitely welcome going in any direction that anybody would like to go to. But for right now, I want to encourage you to become your own kind of hero in whatever direction you feel led to go. Because the number one most important thing that I can tell you right now is that the world's going to be a much better place when you are living up to your full potential. And I want to encourage you to do anything and everything that it takes for you to do that, to become that divine hero to other people. And again, it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be achieving a gold medal in the Olympics. It can be as simple as connecting to one person at a time and really being there for them in that moment. The other thing that I want to mention is that just like excellence in anything else, whether it's becoming an Olympic athlete, becoming a celebrity, becoming rich and famous, or whatever else that you want to do, everything that is worth doing takes time and effort to get there. And one of the omissions or sins of omission that you could say that I have been committing in my presentations is I've not always illuminated the fact that this process of manifesting, this process of relaxing down deep into an alpha theta level, focusing your entire mind on one thing until it manifests, it takes practice. It takes time. It's not something you can do in 5 minutes and be done with it. The more you practice, the deeper you're able to go within yourself. And the deeper you're able to go within yourself, the closer you are to the divine mind. And the closer you are to the divine mind, the more of that divine power you're able to channel through into your manifestations. And again, the 100% focus. I know that there are some of us who are so busy mentally. And I know I get into this. I get so busy mentally that you sit down and you try to focus, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes goes by, and your mind is still jumping around to a dozen different ideas. Meditation is one of those key things that the Coptics is always talking about. Hamid Bey taught meditation, meditation, meditation. And the reason for that is it helps you focus your mind. It helps you focus on one thing and one thing only. And it's this high degree of focus that allows you to really cut through all of the distractions and manifest your visions into reality. And because of this, I would like to invite anyone who has not already taken the WSO courses, and I think everyone here tonight has taken the WSO courses. So mostly at this moment, I'm speaking to the viewers on YouTube who will be watching this video later. If you've not already taken the WSO courses offered by the Coptic Fellowship, I highly recommend them, because the WSO is all about helping you become a hero to others in your life. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and call it good. Thank you for being here. I know I've opened up a whole lot of ideas here, and I would definitely welcome whatever questions you have during the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Wonderful presentation. It definitely has opened up ideas for discussion. I guess I'll kick it off. The concept of fake it until you make it, we bear that together. I've struggled with that since I was a kid, and I still do at times. It's like you can't fake it. You got to be real, and to be able to do that. But you've kind of touched on the aspects of the more you go within and find the divine mind and have that flow through you. That's when it can actually become a reality. It isn't faking it at all. So that was a wonderful thing you touched on.
Yeah. At one point, my idea of it was that you don't operate from the present moment, you operate from the future moment. And in that future moment, it will be true. And then lately, I just realized that it's not a matter of lying or telling truth. It's a matter of telling the truth ahead of time.
It's a really good way to look at it.
Well, it's kind of like when you want to learn how to ride a bike. You don't know how to do it. But when you have the courage to get on and try, eventually you're going to know how to ride the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's similar to that. I want to, you have the desire, and it's a worthwhile cause, and you've got the determination, and after practice and practice, gee whiz, hey, I can ride this bike. And I just want to say, Alan, you are becoming a better and better teacher as you go along. You're really, you give us a lot of inspiration.
Thank you for that, because that has been the inspiration part, especially because that's been a focus of mine since the first of the year, because I've recognized that no matter how good of information that any of us might have, it's not going to do anyone any good unless we can motivate and inspire people to actually use that information.
Right.
So that is something that I'm definitely working on. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm looking at your books behind you too. You're the author of all of these books: Prosperity Inside Out, Choose to Believe. What is it?
Harmonic Prayer. Yeah, got the Harmonic Prayer book.
Harmonic
there.
Prayer.
There's the DVD of the workshop that I did at the Coptic Center. There's another program, Awaken the Avatar Within, that I produced. The Prosperity from the Inside Out.
Yeah.
That's a book that started out long time ago. So, yeah, when I'm the one doing the speaking, I'll have my stuff up so people can at least see it.
No, I think that's good.
I think you're ready to go out there and teach.
Well, he's teaching already.
I think you are going out there and teaching.
Yeah, he's on the WSO, self-discovery, right?
Yeah, I'm in the self-discovery class right now, and I was on the WSO World Service Order facilitators team
Right.
before that. And yeah, the thing that touches in, or at least references, a line that I thought about earlier. I didn't use it in the actual presentation, but the whole idea of inspiring people to go out and become leaders. The line that I had in there is, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get off the sidelines and actually get into the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. I was going to say, in the self-discovery course, you also have taught as well as being a student.
Yeah, the marketing segment. Yep.
When you think of all the things that Hamid Bey and Master Stanley represent, diet, meditation, exercise, being a prototype, an example for people to emulate, to empower them, and then they go out and empower. It's the first, when you plant the seed, or drop a little rock in the water, it creates ripples. That's what we all do. And one of the biggest things we can do with our life is to compliment. It's very important. Stay away from that criticism stuff. And this is how you can change the world.
Yeah, there's a book that I read where the guys, it's I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but the central character in the story is someone who touched so many different lives simply by being present in the moment with each one of them. And that one idea touched so many lives, and as you say, it rippled out. And when he eventually passed, it's like the town was flooded with people coming to pay their respects for this guy. It was just incredible.
One of the things that Hamid Bey taught us was about an experience that he had about in Mount Shasta on November 11th. But the same thing, as a numerologist, I've taken that 1111 thing and made it something that we can really basically change the world. And the recent one is the recent November 11th of 2020 is the beginning of a positive cycle. And this positive cycle began on 11/11, a new physical, mental, emotional, spiritual expression on a worldwide basis. Now, this whole thing, started 11/11 of 2020. You take it 9 months, we come to late spring, early summer, and guess what? The whole system, it's all going to, the negativity and the planet is going to change because we have planted seeds. So each of us plant the seeds of what we think is important in people's lives. And again, thank you, Alan. You personify that, and we're just proud to have you in this organization.
Thank you.
Yeah, speaking from experience, you are a very good mentor, if not great. I've been learning videography and marketing and really getting comfortable with sharing my voice, and you have been a big part of that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ellen, you touched on the four different topics. Belief is the first part of it. Imagination, I think, is number two. Focusing the mind for clarity, for manifesting, and then you see yourself as accomplishing and having your goal accomplished. I think was the four. I kind of scribbled them down. I just want to make sure I had them right.
Well, actually, the 3 steps is relax, imagine, and then trust, or the way I describe it. The see yourself as the end result, that's part of the imagination step. That's what I was trying to get into a little bit more detail on what you can imagine in order to manifest the end result of being a person of significance and touching other people's lives, is to imagine that you've already touched people's lives, to imagine that you've already attained that level of success, if that's the way that you look at it, to see yourself as already being recognized by others as a champion or a hero, if that's the way that you would like to think of it, to imagine yourself already in that final position that you would like to manifest and experience in physical life. And I noticed I had to pull myself back from saying in real life, because real life is a lot more than just the physical. What we're doing inside is also real life. But there's the mental life and then the physical life and the spiritual life, and there's different levels.
Thank you. It's very much similar to John's theater of the mind that he spoke of.
Yep.
In years past.
Yep, that's exactly it. The only real difference that I talk about is relaxing deeply first before you get into that theater of the mind. And then as you are getting ready to exit that theater of the mind, to anchor in what you have visualized, what you have imagined, with the idea of absolute truth, absolute reality, and tie those two ideas together so that it is anchored in your mind and it becomes a permanent part of who you are. Because there's a lot of us, and this was definitely true for me for a lot of years. I would relax, I would go within, I would imagine something, and then I would just let it go, and I'd come out of that session, and it's like, okay, that happened in a whole nother world. Now I'm in this world, and it didn't always carry over because I didn't necessarily anchor it in to this is who I am, this is part of my reality.
Mm-hmm.
I've always heard that when you visualize that you should always add this or something better so that you don't limit yourself in what you're visualizing.
That is a good idea, yes, to be open to something better than what you have imagined. Yes, that's definitely a good idea.
That's definitely what Unity taught
Mm-hmm.
in affirmations.
I've never heard the statement that I want to say right now. The most powerful tool we have is our tongue.
You've said that before.
Our tongue is powerful. If we find anybody we can compliment, or uplift, inspire, whatever that might be, and come out and express it, that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tongue is just very, very powerful if you really stop and think about it. And I know most of you are wonderful, giving, serving, helping others. We're just honored to have you in this organization. But we just have to expand it. And Alan, you explained it so beautifully how to do that, to get it more into the world. And then we become the hero.
Well, I think the tongue, not only using it for complimenting others, but our self-talk, you can use that and use it to believe what you're doing. Talk to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not verbalizing out loud, but you can tell yourself, I am this hero, or I want to be, I will be, I am, that sort of thing,
But this I am thing is very powerful too. Every day I happen to say, I'm love, I'm joy, I'm peace, I'm strength, I'm might, I'm power, I'm success, I'm happiness, I am light.
Mm-hmm.
And that empowers you. And just keep it positive. Love yourself enough, compliment yourself, and go out and be, I am And of course, I am that I am. Whatever that other I am is an exemplification of what we are.
Right. And the thing that I want to add to that, just simply because when I heard that type of idea before, I misinterpreted it. So just to add this to the video is just when you do make those types of affirmations, it is important that you feel the truth of them. It's not just the words. It's not just repeating the sounds. It's about expressing the idea, and not just expressing the idea, but experiencing the reality of what those words, what that idea represents.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard John Davis say, the word is the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You're cutting right into the heart of it when you speak.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact quote, but I think I remember seeing something in the Bible that really reflects what you're talking about there, as far as the tongue, the power of the tongue, and the power of the words that way.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember the reference right now.
Mm-hmm. And imagination too. When you're in that deep meditative state, imagining what it is and seeing yourself in, creating the whole scenario. I'll never forget 2 instances in my life, and don't ask me why I remember them. Probably because I should take heed of them. Once when I was about 7 years old, it was Halloween, and my mother dressed me up in this beautiful princess dress. And I had a little tiara and little wand. I'm telling you, I was that princess. I really was in my mind. I acted like it. And, in the gymnasium, you had to, go out and parade around. My God, I was really it. And then again in elementary, I think I was probably in the 6th grade. And I had to fill in the last minute for somebody that played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I'm telling you, I was Dorothy. There was no doubt about it. And I just played this role like.
That is funny.
Well, actually, that illustrates a point that I made in the Choose to Believe book, and that is, when we are children, we have this natural instinct to pretend, to see ourselves as something we would like to be able to act from that standpoint, and to embody that as if it were true, at least in the moment. And it's a natural ability that we have as children that society tends to program out of us, that, okay, you're playing a game, that's not real. Now it's time to actually get into real life. And so we're taught to leave that behind, but we need to actually bring that back out. And sometimes I use that as the reference of what Christ said, become as little children. Regain that ability that we had as children to pretend, to see yourself as you would like to be, because that is the ability that we have to manifest and be co-creators with the divine in this life. Yay!
Yeah.
Oh.
And
So I guess we shouldn't believe that we can fly off the top of a high building, correct?
Really? We can't? Oh, I'm sorry.
well, it's a good idea to practice in a safe space first.
Yeah.
It's okay to believe you can do it, but verify it first.
Well, even Hamid Bey says that you have to follow the laws of God and nature. He said that in many of his lessons.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. That was very well said.
Very well.
So, I mean, that's a physical law, the law of gravity. We have a certain amount of gravity on this planet. So
That is a physical law in this realm. There are other realms where you may fly. You just can't do it here.
yeah.
Not
That's why
yet.
I said this planet.
But let me just mention
wouldn't
one other
limit it.
thing. Maybe we haven't been able to do it yet,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it can't be done.
True.
This means that we haven't yet developed those abilities.
Yeah.
Well, Hamid Bey demonstrated levitating and also leaving the body. So, I mean, if you call that flying, that could be flying.
Well, levitating is
Mhm.
working in outside of the law of gravity. I mean, the law of gravity, it's like Newton's laws. The law of motion or momentum or whatever says that a body in motion will continue to be in motion until and unless it's acted upon by another force. The law of gravity pulls us down until we are acted upon by another force. So the divine power, the divine mind can be that other force. We just have to learn how to use it. At least that's the way I'm approaching it this far. I haven't given up on being able to accomplish things like that because, again, our beliefs create our reality. We have to believe that something's possible before we can do it.
We just need Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Well, I was just
There he goes.
listening to a Cryon tape earlier today, and in that Cryon was saying that 2020 was the year of change, 2021 is the year of revelation, and that the veil is actually thinner now than it's ever been. And things that we used to have to do to get through, we don't have to do now, or we will not by the end of this year. We're in a new age. And so I'm thinking we will be able to do some of these things that we have not been able to do. I'm looking forward to it.
Levitation may be the first milestone to flight.
Actually, there is one reference that I want to bring out with all this. As far as the whole idea of levitation, flying, the law of gravity, there's this other natural physical law that says that basically you can't get something out of thin air, materialize objects out of thin air. And yet there is an Indian mystic, I'm not sure if he's still around anymore, but for many, many decades, an Indian mystic by the name of Sai Baba was recorded by scientists and on film producing objects out of thin air. And people would line up to visit him. They would come in to his ashram and he would talk to them and he would offer them a gift and ask them what would they like. They would mention something. He would flourish his hand. He might pull it under a table or in his robes or whatever, but he would produce the exact item that they had asked for.
Apporting.
Right. It's that type of thing. And it would be very specific, the types of things that he would be able to give. Some people just wanted the holy ash that was celebrated in their culture. And that stuff just seemed to flow out of his fingertips. And other people wanted just some little sweet treat, like let's just say a cookie. It wasn't that type of thing, but it was some little cooked, baked treat. And he would produce it and he'd hand it to them and it would be hot to the touch, like it just came out of the oven. And other people asked for jewelry. He produced gold rings, earrings, brooches, all sorts of different jewelry, and it was like a never-ending flow of one object out of another for decades. And there were a lot of people trying to prove that he was faking it, and they couldn't figure it out. And there were a lot of video taken because he did allow video to be taken. And when I was researching the Choose to Believe book, there were references to videos on YouTube. And the title of the video or the description of the video says, see, this video proves that he's faking it. And I watched through those videos frame by frame by frame by frame, and there was no proof. There were those obfuscation things where he's reaching under something and coming out, but there's no proof that the object existed before he had it in his hand. So these natural physical laws, Who knows how far they go? Who knows what we can do? Right now, I'm keeping my mind open to these things might be possible once we develop that level of consciousness.
It is amazing to hear that we only use 10% of our mind. Can you imagine if we even used another 10%?
Mm-hmm.
What types of things we would be experiencing?
And going back to what Autumn mentioned from Hamid Bey's lesson, if we're all using the divine mind, we're not even using 10% of that.
Mm-hmm.
We might be using 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% 1,000 times on.
If it happened instantly, would we freak out or would we happily rejoice? It'd take an adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
I once read that our physical reality has been child-proofed, and that's the reason why things take a certain amount of time before they manifest. Because if things did manifest instantly, with our level of self-control or lack thereof, as soon as we imagine if it manifested as soon as we imagined it, chaos would result. And so that's why it takes a certain amount of time. That's why it requires a certain amount of dedication and training to relax and make contact and focus 100% of your mind on something, which, truth be told, it doesn't really absolutely require that. As Lori was saying last week with Joseph Murphy, every thought, every feeling goes out into the universe to create a reality. And so there's really no focus involved. There's no relaxation involved in all situations. However, the reason I talk about relaxing and focusing is it maximizes your ability to manifest. And if you spent, say, 20 hours of the day in a very negative mental space, by relaxing deeply, focusing 100% on a positive experience, you can reverse all that with 5 minutes of effort. And so that's the only reason why I talk about relaxing deeply and focusing our mind, and that is to overcome everything else that we may have been doing in our lives. But yeah, if we could get ourselves to just simply think positively more often than not, 51% of our day spent in positive thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, if we just did 51%, things would improve little by little, day by day. But for some of us, that's not as easy as it is to just simply focus and do a very intense session to manifest. So, yeah, in fact, I was just looking over my notes. There's a line in there about the belief is the key element. If you already believed in the result that you would like to experience, you would already be experiencing that result. And so because our beliefs are reflected in the world around us, there's no effort involved in that, because that's just the natural process of how life works. Whatever we believe to be true becomes true for us. The only effort is in changing those beliefs.
We create our reality.
Yep.
100%.
100%. And that's why I was talking at the beginning about everything that is happening in our lives is a direct reflection of who we are. And that is not just true for us, it's also true for everyone else on the planet. And here's really the example that I know some of you are not going to like, but President Trump, even though he was a very negative person, even though he did things in a very negative way, he had a belief in success. He had a belief that he could accomplish certain things, get certain things, and make certain things happen, and he did. And it didn't matter about how he did it. He just believed that it was possible. He made it happen one way or another. But again, going back to the other thing that I mentioned about karma, the way we do things comes back to us eventually. And so we don't have to do anything to make sure that everything turns out fair, because God will repay, as they say, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. The mills of the gods grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine, is another quote from another book that I read, that nobody's going to get away with anything. It's all going to come back to them one way or another. But if we believe that we can do something, if we believe that we're entitled to something, if we believe that a particular condition or experience is going to be a natural result of what we're doing, that belief will make it happen.
Yeah, Alan, and what you said, I did read somewhere that Trump used to, on his lunch hour, go to a church, I think it might have been Norman Vincent Peale's, where there was positive affirmation taught. And that is where he learned all of these things that he says that people say, well, that's not real. And then he became president because he had people address him as president. He was using those power of positive thinking. And so, you know, at times when he would say something that sounded absolutely ridiculous, it would be because he was trying to use those affirmations to make that happen.
Okay. I didn't necessarily know that, but I was recognizing that there could have been a positive intention behind some of those misrepresentations of fact.
Mm-hmm.
I think it woke up the country. People
Well,
stopped
that
being
could also be a
complacent.
positive outcome.
I think it was. I mean, it clearly woke people up. They stopped cruising through their lives, not paying attention.
Yep.
They had to recognize they had to start paying attention because of what was at stake. So.
Great topic tonight, Alan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. It was
You're
great.
very welcome.
Thank
Very
you.
welcome.
Wonderfully presented and lots of
Wonderful.
wisdom to take
Great,
with
great
us.
job. Great job.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Standing ovation.
Yeah.
Yay!